All right, good morning. Shut Up Dave podcast number 3. Not bad. First two, some great response. Thanks very much. Good morning. Whoops, how about we plug in the microphone? I set the whole microphone thing up and then didn't plug it in. Let's see if this works. There we go. All right, so the microphone didn't work. All right, thanks so much. All right, so that was a bad start. So Jay Darden standing next to me until someone said, you know what, let's go up and we got some reserved seating for you. It was an impressive show. Probably about 200 people in there, maybe more. Over a dozen cameras, right? 2 stations from Lafayette was there, Fox and KATC. All the Baton Rouge stations, and then I think all of the New Orleans stations were there. Good morning, Mitch Goldberg. He wouldn't go into the process on how he got hired because the process is a little shady, a little bit. And I kind of know a little bit about this because, you know, someone had the job. There wasn't exactly an opening when the process started a month before he got it. Right? This all happened, you know, a week ago. Right? Tuesday night, we're in Metairie talking, talking UL and LSU baseball. And on Wednesday, Aliva's gone and Woodward's coming in. And that all happened within, what, 24, 48 hours of each other. So, believe you me, the Scott Woodward part of that was in before Aliva was out. And so he wasn't going to go into it. He said, look, that's LSU's process, not mine. He's excited to be here. But he had a very, very impressive and a little bit of a surprising and yet honest press conference. All right, talking about how, first of all, they have an advantage, whether what, you know, the Cajuns care about or not. There is no other Power 5 school in this state. All right, there is no, and he pointed out, there is no Florida State. There is no Georgia Tech. There's no Auburn, Alabama. There's no Texas A&M. There's just not. LSU has all the Power 5 resources. He was very clear on how, you know, history buff, you know, he's somehow mixing in the South losing the Civil War, not due to the spirit of the South, but to the resources. And saying, look, we have the resources. We got them. We guys just have to make sure that they're coming towards us. All right, that's what we need to make sure that that's the case. Very impressive press conference. Very impressive. You know, if King Alexander was short and sweet with his introduction, I don't even think that Scott Woodward's, you know, comments were 5 minutes. I think the whole thing lasted about a half an hour. I was a little bit surprised because the people I talked to, I said, who's going to be the one to ask the Will Wade question? Because whether you like it or not, that is a situation he walks into. I know Nikki Vargas has a little cloud hanging over her head, but that's, you know, whether you're going to retain her or not because of the performance on the court. Whether Will Wade is, you know, maybe bringing the program down is the situation. So you have to deal with that moving forward. And he kind of, I don't know if he sidestepped it. He answered the question. It was the 16th question asked. 16th question asked. And you know, you're walking into a situation where you have this basketball program, you know, under a cloud. How do you deal with that? And he's like, well, he said we know more than he does. Which, let's be honest, if this process was going on for a month, not only was he asked about the Will Wade situation, but he asked about it. All right, where are we with that? Because you know the first thing he doesn't want to do is come in here and fire the basketball coach. You know that's the first thing he does not want to do. So he's like, well, you probably know more than me, but I'm going to get into it. And as of right now, is what he said, as of right now, Will Wade is our basketball coach, and I support him 100%. That's kind of like saying, you know, if you want to take that a step further, I support the basketball coach as long as he's the basketball coach until he's not. That could change, you know, tomorrow. So that'll probably be the first thing that he does. It's not going to happen today or tomorrow, but we'll see what happens. The The trial actually got underway. I thought it was supposed to get underway Monday, but it got underway on Tuesday, and it kind of, went in a different direction than people were expecting. Kind of went towards football, and Penn State was brought into this, and Larry Johnson was brought into it. So it hasn't really gotten to the basketball part yet. Good morning, Nick Guidry. Good morning. Good morning, Steve Whitewing. Thanks for joining us on the Shut Up Dave podcast. Please like and share on Facebook. I'd be appreciated. So he does have this Will Wade thing, this situation that he's got to deal with, all right? I'd say rather sooner than later. This is not going to hang over his head until, September. This thing's going to be settled, I'd say, before the summer. I'd say before July 4th, he's going to have a decision. And, of course, they're going to wait for more information. We'll see what happens in the trial that just got started, as I mentioned yesterday. He also mentioned that he's a good listener, that's the one thing that, you get the cliche, we got 2 ears and 1 mouth. So instead of me trying to put my stamp on the program to begin with, I'm going to listen to what's going on. All right. And obviously the first thing that someone brought up to me, game day experience. Traffic is the issue on that, right? And that's usually, in terms of what I go through, it's at the end, right? That's the problem with the game day experience and parking. Very rarely do I have an issue parking at an LSU football game. It may take me a little bit once I get there. Usually a half an hour, maybe. The fans were already there. So I don't know when the traffic is bad at LSU going to the game. All right, I can't imagine going down Nicholson is a smart move, but I take River Road and sneak in the back and park at the box. But one of them is, how do you keep the students there, or how do you keep the fans there? Well, most of the time, the reason the fans are leaving is because the score is lopsided. Even if in the favor of LSU, right? If they're playing, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Southeastern, no one's leaving an Auburn football game where they're coming back down from 20, right? No one's leaving that. No one's leaving a Georgia football game where they're hammering them. Not leaving that game early, right? Or they leave an Alabama game early when they're getting hammered, all right? So usually fans are only leaving, I think, when the score is lopsided or weather, right? I'm sorry, I'm just not. I don't know if it's because I'm older or whatever the case is, but I don't expect anybody to sit out in the rain. I just don't. That is a ridiculous thing to do, especially later on in the season when it can be a cold rain. Who needs that, right? Who needs to get sick? Who needs to be miserable like that? Paid a lot of money to be in these seats, but I'm not going to sit here and, sit in a monsoon just to watch a college football game, right? I can go back to my tailgating spot and be dry, or I can go home, all right? Carrie, good morning. Thanks for tuning in. But one of the things he brought up, and I think this was the most interesting, aspect of it in terms of his press conference. He was asked about the game day experience, and he's just suggested, he's not advocating, but he's like, one of the things that we got to think about, which was music to my ears, not that I have anybody to do it with, but is gambling and gaming. I thought he was talking more esports, because that's where the millennials are. They actually watch people play video games, which is something that is, over my head, but it's a thing now. And people are getting paid a lot of money to actually play the video games that people are watching them play. I think the esports guys, in the NBA are getting more than the G League guys who are, actually getting paid to play. Good morning, Sarah. How's the little one? Legend Junior. Good morning. Congratulations on that, by the way. Blake Paul Miller, thanks for tuning in. But he absolutely said, hey, look, and then we're talking about Scott Woodward. Mississippi's got it. It's coming, right? We've already started the process or passed legislation finally to do fantasy sports. You really even couldn't do a regular fantasy sports league. Meanwhile, a daily fantasy sports league, that should be up and running, I would think, after this legislative session, that you'll be able to do it. I don't know if it's going to be July, but probably by the football season, that you will be able to do daily fantasy sports. Now they're trying to get, and it's going to go through the same process, gambling through, and it's going to be, it's going to take a while because they're going to do it the same way they did the fantasy sports thing, and that's go through each parish. So each parish is going to have to vote on whether they want gambling in the parish, and unfortunately, we probably know which way Lafayette Parish is going to go. It's not going to go the way I want it. But nonetheless, he said that's coming. Mississippi's got it, and we need to have it. And there's a legend. Good morning. I got a doctor's appointment with Dr. Legend today, so we'll see how that goes. The knee is not getting any better. Thanks very much for that. And so you're bringing gambling to Mississippi, right? And he even goes, look, gambling saved the NFL. The NFL is what it is because of gambling. And so I don't know if that's a possibility. I'm just bringing it up. And from Louisville, Angie Schultz. Good morning, Ange. How are you? Thanks for tuning in. Like and share. We need all of Louisville, and we need all of DC. Not to mention your kids. Can we get your kids to download, the Dave Schultz podcast? One of them found me on YouTube. So pretty bright kid you got there. Anyways, if it's going to be at Mississippi, you got to bring it here. And once the gambling is in Louisiana, do we have it at the games? And he's talking about, look, we need to make it safe for the kids, for the players, so they're not enticed by it. But that's the way this guy is thinking out of the box, right? I bet you most people with game day experience, if someone told me parking, you got to pay for parking, is that a thing? I know it's a thing at UL because, well, they don't have 90,000 people or 100,000 people coming to their games, right? You need one of those, supply and demand deals. You got to wait until you have 30,000 people coming, and then we'll charge for parking. No, the Cajuns did the other way. They got 5,000 people coming to their game, so we're now going to charge for parking. There's a reason why in the last 2 ball games the Cajuns probably had 11,000 combined. All right, and they were winning. And one of those games, no LSU game to compete with. LSU wasn't playing, and it was a gorgeous day. But Scott Woodward is thinking out of the box to the idea that eventually gambling is going to come to Louisiana, and eventually we have to think about embracing it, and how do we do it, legally and ethically. Now, Rabbi Sherman is tuning in. How about that? Rabbi Chuck Sherman is tuning in. Good morning. And quick note, by the way, your son out in L.A. knows a friend of mine from Florida who now moved out to L.A. Somehow those two guys know each other. Good morning. Yes, they're going to make it. It's probably going to go Steve Whitewing. They're probably going to do the same thing they did for fantasy sports in terms of gambling. Instead of making it statewide, it's going to be parish-wide. So, if we're lucky, that's going to be a problem. Regulated on a parish level. That's going to be a problem in terms of time. So basically, if this passes in this legislative session in Baton Rouge, hopefully it'll be on the ballot in October, November. Then you may have to wait a couple of years to figure out how you tax it, right? Because the great state of Louisiana, the second year you can't do, next year they can't do taxes. You can't in the legislative session. Taxes are every other year. So if they pass this year, we may have to wait 2 more years before it's legalized, because how are you going to tax it? Unless that's all in the bill and on the on the ballot. Unless they figure that all out now, we may have to wait 2 years before that's good. And what's way too long when you're already dealing it within. I think Arkansas is getting it, and Mississippi's already got it, and is not good in terms of what Louisiana's doing. But again, he so impressive with Scott Woodward, so he's out of the box. Also talking about, it's a joke, right? He's from A&M. Matt Mascona, our buddy from Baton Rouge, asked about, can you eliminate the 7 overtime rule? And he's like, well, how about we just move it back to the 40, and you got to go for 2 from the beginning, which is a good idea, right? Now you actually have to get it. That may be the opposite of, I heard from starting from the 10, and you got to go for 2. You got 4 downs, no kicking field goals. You take the field goal right out of the game, right? We'll start from the 10. You got 4 downs, kind of like what we played on the playground. 4 downs, you got to get into the end zone, and then you got to go for 2. But I could do either one of those. Move it back to the 40, So now you actually have to get a first down or so before you're in field goal range. All right. I mean, unless you're kicking, I guess you could be kicking. Well, if you get to the 32, 7 yards, it's not a chip shot anyways, right? 49-yarder. So he's talking about different things that he wants to accomplish here, different things that he is thinking about from the get-go. Maybe different overtimes. And I think they were mentioning that, I think he mentioned that A&M and LSU had already been discussing that because as thrilling as it is for the fans, the guys are exhausted. Someone's going to get hurt, and there's no reason that these kids, that these college kids got to be playing, ball games in the 70s like that. It's fun, for us to watch and agonizing when you lose and thrilling when you win, but it was ridiculous, a 7-overtime game like it was. Everyone's exhausted, from the players to the coaches, the fans, the referees. It does not go well. All right, so a very impressive deal with Scott Woodward. The first thing he's going to do, as I mentioned, he's going to come in and listen. And again, he said, as a doctor, you do no harm. So that's what his first message is going to be here. Kind of like what I think, Dr. Brian Mager did with UL. I can't do anything until I know what the program is. And obviously he's very familiar with this, but it's an odd deal. I guess, he just hadn't been in athletics for all that long. Lane LeBlanc, good morning. He was, more in the administration at LSU. And then when he went to Washington, he became an AD, and obviously was an AD at Texas A&M for a little bit, but not very long. Whereas like a Dr. Brian Maggard came through and spent 20 years, I believe, in the Missouri athletic department. So he's got much more athletic background than Scott Woodward does. Scott Woodward's got the, political background, which is advantageous, especially here in Louisiana. I mean, you need to have the politicians behind you. You need to have the money behind you. And I think he's off to a good start with this. Again, in terms of coaches, we'll have to find out what Will Wade is going to do, what's going to happen with Will Wade. I'm not, is he going to fire Nicky Vargas? Maybe he's like, what? You're just, I don't know what her contract situation is, but you got one more year and you need to turn it around. All right, this is it. All right, I'm going to let you go, and we'll talk about it the following year. Maybe that could be it. The first thing he doesn't want to do is fire somebody. Now he may have no choice with Will Wade. We'll see what happens. That's a ways off. But I think LSU is heading in the right direction compared to what's happened over the last few years. From the Johnny Jones hire to the Ed Orgeron hire. Even if Ed turns out to be the right guy, it was fumbled not once but twice. Ed Orgeron was, the third choice, right? Jimbo 1, Jimbo 2, Tom Herman. It was not handled well. And I forget what the name of the Beverly Hills Cop 2, captain was or something like that, or the chief of police talking about it. That's the way Joe Oliva talked, right? After the A&M game, good morning, Stacy. After the A&M game a couple years ago, when Les Miles is taken off the field off his shoulders, I told you I would make my decision at the end of the season. And this is what, this is the end of the season, and Les Miles is our coach. Do you understand? Do you understand me? It's the alphabet killer. My team found the alphabet killer. Do you understand what I'm talking about? That's the way I found Joe Oliva to be. Jerry DeRigo, good morning. Thanks for tuning in again. Like and share, please, on Facebook Live. That helps out. Again, we'll put up audio. I can put up audio in the podcast if you want to hear about some of the things that Scott Woodward said. Also, you can, on the Facebook page, on my Facebook page, and on my Twitter page, we did have a 2.5-minute recap. You can hear what he said. All right. He knows it's going to be competitive. He did not come back here because his family lives here. He did not come back here because his friends are here or he's got a cabin in the bayou. No, he came back here because it's LSU. He came back here because LSU is one of the top sports programs in the nation, right? I mean, who do we have who are we talking about here, right? I mean, in terms of championships, A&M's not there yet. They're trying to get there, but they're not really there yet, right? In terms of money, I mean, what is it? Alabama, Michigan, Texas, A&M, Ohio State. I missed one. Maybe Wisconsin, right? Florida kind of had their run. They just won a baseball championship a couple years ago, but I guess Florida's got to be there. There's only a handful of programs that are on the level of LSU. And like he said, he's got an advantage. LSU has an advantage, right? There is no USC, UCLA. There's no Stanford and Cal. There is no Michigan, Michigan State, all right? I guess there's Ohio State like that, right? Is Cincinnati a Power 5 team? So Ohio State kind of has their state. There's a lot of colleges in that state, but that's really the only Power 5 team, right? There's no Penn State Pitt. Good morning, Mark Foreman. So there's a huge advantage to what Scott Woodward has here at LSU, and he's going to take advantage of it. He's going to take advantage of it, and that's going to be interesting to see, and it will be interesting to see what his first move is, if there's a so-called move, all right? It'd be nice if he could figure out the parking and the traffic flow. I guess that's what I mean. Not the parking, but the traffic flow for LSU football games, all right? Because you really shouldn't have, it takes me an hour to get out of a game. And that's maybe an hour and a half. So that's post-game. You know, it doesn't really take us more than 10 minutes to get in. So maybe another 15, 20 minutes inside post-game. And then editing is another, say, 30, 40 minutes. And then you got to wait to upload it and then tweet it out, whatever it is. So maybe an hour and a half. So if a game ends, so say a 6 o'clock game ends at 9:30. I'm hitting the road 10:30, 11, and there's still traffic. That's a little bit of a problem. That's a tiny bit of a problem. There should be traffic. I understand if there's traffic right after the ball game. But otherwise, we'll see what his first stamp is. It may be, replacing the women's basketball coach. And again, we'll see what happens with Will Wade. All right, so Scott Woodward joins LSU, and it just seems like to be a very good, move for the Tigers. All right, just looking here on theadvocate.com, we get Marlon Taylor appears on the list of early entries. Wow. Sheldon Mickles, the NBA late Tuesday night announced 233 early entry players. Only 60 are drafted. 60. Only 60, right? That's all. 30 teams in the NBA. Only 60. 233 early entries, including 175 collegians, 58 international players, had declared for the draft by Sunday night's deadline to do so. Taylor, 6'5" guard, is 6th and the final LSU player to put his name in. I got a feeling he's coming back. Why wouldn't you put your name in? I mean, you can take it. You can do all of baseball now. If you're not drafted, you come back. Right? In baseball, not only can you get drafted, but you can negotiate. And if you don't like what you get, kind of like the Landon Marceaus or the Gunnar Leges, even though I think Landon, well, I don't know. I'm going to say Landon didn't get what he wanted, but he may have been coming to LSU anyway. But Gunnar was going to leave, but he didn't get the money that he wanted to. And now you can kind of do that. You could do that in the NBA, which is the right thing to do. So, and think about that. 233 early entry players, 60 guys are drafted. All right. I'm going to call this. I wouldn't be surprised if Javonte Smart is drafted ahead of Tremont Waters. All right. In terms of potential, Javonte Smart has more potential than Tremont Waters. Tremont Waters may be a better player, but in terms of potential, Smart's better. All right, Naz Reid's going to get drafted. It'll be very interesting to see where. I mean, people have him at the bottom of the first round. Could Naz Reid come back and dominate next year? I mean, don't you want to see more consistency from Naz Reid? That's what I wanted to see. Right? I want to see more consistency. He'd have these great games and then disappear. Great games and then disappear. I don't blame him that he wants to go. And if you're going to be drafted in the first round, good for him. I'd just like to see a little bit more consistency from Naz Reid. I mean, if you want to compare him to Zion Williamson, it's just, think about the difference in that, how incredible Zion Williamson was And that may be an unfair comparison, but how consistent he was. And obviously, Duke got a lot, with the point guard and R.J. Barrett and Cam Reddish. There's a lot more talent on Duke that you got to worry about. Whereas, when it was with Naz Reid, there was, not as much talent. So we'll see what happens. So 6 LSU players advancing. All right, not advancing. 6 LSU players into the NBA draft. I think at least 3 are coming back. We'll see. All right, we'll see what happens. We are on Facebook Live with Shut Up Dave podcast. It seemed to be, I don't know if we need to turn the light off or turn the other light on or anything along those lines. It seemed to be whiting out. It needs some makeup, I guess. Anyways. All right, so please like and share. And that helps it out on Facebook Live. Thanks very much for that. Let's see if I can find out LSU with a 5-3 win over Lamar. That's kind of a win and move on deal for LSU, right? I mean, that's not a very impressive victory against a guy with I think a 6 ERA. But the good news is that I think Landon Marceau pitched pretty well, and Drew Bianco with a 3-run jack. So those are good things to see. Kind of a nondescript win over Lamar, but that's better than a nondescript loss, right? I mean, a win and move on, to say the least. Let's see if we can find the numbers that I'm looking for. Landon Marceau, 3 innings, 3 hits, no walks. That's big. And 1 strikeout. So a good job by Landon Marceau. Beck came in, 3 strikeouts in 2 innings, did give up a run. Riggs Threadgill, only 2/3 of an inning, a couple of base hits. Hilliard back on the mound, 1 inning, and goose eggs after that, pretty good. Vietmeyer, who struggled against the Cajuns, 1/3 of an inning with a strikeout. Todd Peterson with a 1 inning of work. And Devin Fontenot, interestingly enough, I mean, look at that. Vietmeyer, Peterson, and Fontenot on the back end of a midweek ballgame. All right. It was a Tuesday. These days are seeming to stream together now. It was a Tuesday, so but I mean, so now and last week, remember, they were Thursday, Friday, Saturday, so they've had extra rest. And they come away with, again, a nondescript 5-3 victory over Lamar. And who do they got? And they got Alabama. So this is where they may be looking to sweep Alabama. Good morning, Blaine. Thanks very much for tuning in. Jason Gibbs, there you are. I didn't get the information. And the microphone that I was going to have set up didn't work yet this morning. I'll have to figure that out on my own. I don't know why it didn't work. I turn my microphone on. No, it wasn't working. All right, so the mic right here, that's a prop. That's a prop. Looks good anyways. Meanwhile, the Raging Cajuns, bad loss. This is becoming now a habit. Hitting is contagious, pitching is contagious, and now losing big leads is becoming contagious. They were about, again, it is incredible on how this has turned on a dime now twice. 2 weeks ago, they were about to lose, I guess it was 2 weekends ago, they were about to lose their 4th straight ball game. Down 4-0 to South Ale. Turn around and take 2 out of 3 from South Ale. They're about to win, and then they beat LSU, come from a head victory. Then they're going to beat Arlington, and they're going to be in 5th place in the Sun Belt. They blow an 8-4 lead with Gunnar Lazian in the mound. In the 8th inning. 8-7. Cantrell with a bad play, throwing error. And that opened up the gates. They lose 9-8, lose 7-3, had a 3-2 lead late in that ball game on Friday, and then fell way behind against UT Arlington on Sunday and lost 9-5. Yesterday was a repeat performance of Thursday's ball game against UTA. They are playing a good baseball. Didn't commit any errors. They did have a 3-0 lead. Southern Miss got back into it, made it 3-3 with a run in the second, 2 in the third. They score a run in the 6th, get 2 runs in the 7th. They are leading 6-3 into the 9th inning. The 9th inning, shall we say, did not go as planned. All right. You do have Jacob Schultz in there. Again, no relation. Good morning, Travis Duhon. Thanks for coming in. Doug Axenfeld. Long time no see. I couldn't be on Facebook Live when I was doing the radio show. The music got in the way. Now there's no music, so that's good stuff. Drew Felios. Good morning, my friend. I appreciate you tuning in. Shut Up Dave podcast. So Jacob Schultz is in. Let's see when he started. Jacob Schultz came in the 8th inning. Pitched one shutout inning. So now he's going to go pitch the 9th inning, and I mean, it fell apart. First pitch. McGillis hit by pitch. So now all of a sudden the tying run is on deck. Just like that. Boom sauce. Then he walks the next batter after a 2-2 count. And now the tying run's at the plate. Just like that. What do we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pitches in the 9th inning. The tying run's at the plate. All right. The next batter singled. 1 run scored. Still runners on to first and second. 6-4 Cajuns. You do get a fly out for the first out of the inning. So still runners on at first and second, and it's 6-4, double play ends the game. Another single, infield base hit, knocked down by Cantrell. Runner comes home, and runner to third. Runner's on the corners. All right. You get a pinch runner in there. Connor Cook comes in. You get him to... Connor Cook comes in, gives up a sac fly, and it's a tie game. 2 outs. Still a runner on base. Donaldson doubles to right center. Ball game. 3 out of the last 4 ball games, the Cajuns have had leads in the last 3 innings of the game and haven't been able to put them away. Friday's game, last Friday, was 3-2, but nonetheless, that's a lead. Better than being behind. They were behind. They were ahead 8-4 last Thursday and lost that ball game. Now they're behind. Now they were ahead 6-3 going into the bottom half of the 9th inning. And again, it's just this is getting contagious. Again, talk about, I mean, LSU midweek games don't mean anything. The Cajuns midweek games don't, I mean, even mean less. All right, LSU is fighting for a seed. They're fighting for RPI. We've been through this. The Cajuns, the only way they're getting the NCAA tournament is to win the Sun Belt Conference tournament. They're just looking for seeding. First of all, they have to make the tournament, and you got to be playing well going into the tournament, you would think. They're not playing very good baseball. Again, this could change on a dime. We've seen it change on a dime twice, right? 2 weeks ago, they were losing 4 in a row, and they take 2 out of 3 from South Alabama, and they're winning 3 in a row, and then they're going to win 4 in a row when they're up 8-4 against UTA, and they haven't won since they beat LSU. And 3 of these 4 losses certainly are bad. 2 are just atrocious. 2 are just bad losses. All right. You know, it'd almost be better if, you know, you got 2 base hits, or 2 or 3 base hits, and a guy hits a 3-run blast. A hit by pitch and a walk in the 9th inning. An error against UTA. Not good. All right. They do turn it around, and we'll see what happens. I guess we're going to get weather here in South Louisiana today and tomorrow, which is a big deal because for those of you who don't know, there's a huge, Jazz Fest gets all the pomp and circumstance because they get all the big names down at Jazz Fest, but it's supposed to rain here, and we have what's called Festival International, which is a free event. Hey, Papa Faust, George Faust watching the Shut Up Dave podcast. Please like and share. Good morning, Fausty. But it's a big deal. Festival International actually gets, which is a free music fest. It starts actually tonight. All right, and so there's a couple of acts going tonight. The weather, from what I saw, is supposed to come through Thursday morning. The Wednesday's supposed to tonight, but the weather's supposed to come through Thursday and actually get out of here before 5 p.m. or 5 p.m.-ish. So it could be bad here from Wednesday evening to Thursday. Baseball isn't until Friday, so the weather's supposed to be spectacular this weekend. All right, and it isn't. If it isn't the legend, Duke Baxter. Good morning, Duke. Hey, congratulations on all your success. You are a baseball superstar, my friend. You're a baseball teaching superstar. Thanks for tuning into the Shut Up Dave podcast. All right, like and share. I know you are well connected, man. Get me all in Jersey to subscribe. iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify. All right, spread the word. The Shut Up Dave podcast. By the way, you got my championship watch from 03? I want a championship watch. I'm not, someone's got my championship watch. I know I don't have it. Cajuns taking on Texas State this week. Friday, 6:30, Saturday, 4 p.m., and Sunday, 1 p.m. There's a pretty big boxing match. Kid from New Orleans is coming up here to the Cajun Dome. So that'll be a lot of fun. We can actually do baseball on Saturday and then go to the Cajun Dome and cover the boxing, which really won't get started until well after the 4 p.m. game. So that's a good thing. Cajuns are at Coastal after that. No midweek game next week. In fact, they may be done with midweek games. Looks like they are done with midweek games. They get Georgia State at home after that and at ULM, and they need to turn it around. Here's the thing about I can't second guess putting in Jacob Schultz. You just can't second guess that. All right. I mean, he did it last week against LSU. Down 5-3, he kept it. He kept it close for the Cajuns to come back, right? 4 shutout innings. And that's Andy Chapman. I mean, we're talking about 1980, Camp Seneca Lake. And are you in Thailand, Andy Chapman? Is this podcast already international? We're not talking Rochester, right? I mean, are you in Thailand? And is it Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday in Thailand? Good morning, by the way. Thanks for tuning in to the Shut Up Dave podcast. All right. We had Dr. Bert Pressburg, camp counselor from 1979 on, Andy Chapman, camp counselor from 1980, C4. All right. How are you? Good to see you. All right. So we'll see what happens with UT Arlington and the Cajuns. Well, what I was going to say is that, boy, is Gunnar only able to pitch, one time a week? I guess if Gunnar's only able to pitch one time a week, because I would rather have him pitch like 2 innings on a Friday and 2 innings on a Sunday. But if he's only able to pitch one time a week, you might as well get him into the starting role. I'd rather have him close. I'd rather have him pitch 2 innings. And I know he did pitch well the other day, but I'd rather have him pitch 2 innings on Friday, heck, 1 inning on Saturday, and 1 inning on Sunday. But if it takes him all week to come back, you might as well see if he's ready to go for 5 innings in one game. All right, I wouldn't do that. I know that's what Tony Robichaux wants to do. I know he wants to see him get up to 5 or 6 innings on a Friday night and get the series off to a good start. And you need that Friday night starter. I would rather see him pitch 2 or 3 times a weekend. All right, but if he's not available, I mean, remember the last time he pitched was Friday. Yesterday was Tuesday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. You got 3 days. I'm not going to second guess, bringing up Jacob Schultz. But if, LSU pitched the back end of their bullpen, Jacob Schultz pitched well against LSU. But if Gunnar, what I'm wondering is if Gunnar is only available to pitch once a week. And again, if he's only available to pitch once a week, with the inflammation coming back and it's got to go down, then you might as well start him. If I can't use him Friday, Saturday, or Friday and Sunday, then I might as well just get the 5 innings out of him and go from there. That's really it. That's what I'm saying. All right. All right. What's going on? NFL draft. Frank Clark. Alan Somack. All right. Again, another Genesee Hills alumni. All right. How are you, Kevin Tate? Good morning. Thanks for joining us on the podcast. A draft move, a trade, a couple of moves in the NFL. Apparently, Marshawn Lynch. I don't know if it was overnight or this morning. He's hanging it up. So now the Raiders are looking for a running back. And Frank Clark, defensive end, traded to the Chiefs. This guy had issues coming out of school, and the Chiefs don't have issues with him. They got the Tyreek Hills of the world, Kareem Hunts of the world, and now Frank Clark, who had issues with domestic violence. Seattle got him, traded him, got a first-round pick this year. So we'll see. 2 days ago, 2 days ago, ESPN had Greedy Williams going to the Chiefs. Does he go to the Seahawks? And again, I know he's not going to be happy if he ends up in the Patriots' lap. I'd be shocked if Greedy Williams is sitting there at 32 and the Patriots don't take Greedy Williams. All right, you want to have Stephen Gilmore on one side and Greedy Williams on the next. Patriots may only have to score 17 points to win ball games. You're just not going to be able to pass on them. So we'll see. Again, I would think Greedy Williams is a top 10, top 15 selection, but it seems like, you know, he's falling down a couple people's draft boards. We'll see. All right, and then we'll see how the whole Kyler Murray thing shakes out. And so we'll do some of that draft tomorrow. At the podcast, the Facebook Live is going to be earlier tomorrow. I had my days messed up. I think yesterday I said I was going on Fox News. Fox News, local Fox 15 here locally in the morning to talk about the Saints. The Saints got a second-round pick, and that was really it. They don't have a first-round pick, they don't have a third-round pick, and they don't have a fourth-round pick. So talk about taking the best player available. We'll see if they want to trade their 2020 pick, first-round pick, to move up. But, I mean, who are you going to move up for? Right? Are you going to go for a tight end? Can you get Ben Watson back in the fold? Are you looking for defensive line depth, offensive line depth, which isn't a bad idea? A wide receiver depth, or actually another wide receiver. Kind of need that. So we'll talk more about the draft tomorrow and preview that. A lot of defense being taken early in this draft, other than I would think Kyler Murray and Dwayne Haskins. Those guys are expected to be top 10, and everything else is going to be defense. Defensive linemen galore. And, Josh Allen, Quinnen Williams. At this time last year, nobody knew who Quinnen Williams was. All right, I didn't hear anything about Quinnen Williams from Alabama until the season, in fact, the middle of the season, towards the end. Now all of a sudden, pretty good. Also, so Brian Baldinger. Brian Baldinger does a good job of breaking down film on Twitter. He breaks it down, shows you what he's doing, goes back and forth with the recorder and records himself. And he basically said Devin White is the best player in the draft. He said that Devin White is the best player in the draft. He's expected to go to Tampa Bay at 5. Everyone else is going to take either the quarterback or pass rusher. We'll see what happens if Kyler Murray is not the first pick. But Devin White expected to be. Tampa Bay guys think he's going to be there, and they're going to take him. And now other people think I've seen him listed at number 5, and he's just going to be a great pickup for whoever gets it. All right. Again, please like and share on Facebook. I appreciate that. You can download the podcast. It'll be up there. Give me about a half an hour to it's a process here. You take the Facebook Live, you download that, I upload it to YouTube, and then I transfer the audio over to the iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify. I will have audio, and it'll be editions. There'll be editions. You'll hear audio of the Scott Woodward press conference in the podcast. All right, so we talked about that. We'll do more NFL draft tomorrow. Yankees are all of a sudden 2.5 out, and the Astros even up the series with the Twins with a big win yesterday. They lose 4 in a row, something like that, and they finally got back in the win column. We got to talk baseball. I guess the Dodgers are mashing it. Cody Bellinger having a ridiculous couple of weeks start to the season. All right, thanks for tuning in to the Shut Up Dave podcast. We'll be back tomorrow a little bit earlier, probably 6:30. Thanks very much. Bye.